All right, and we are live. Pop, how you feeling, man?
How you doing, son?
Good to see you,
Good
Pop.
to have you.
Yep. We are back. We are hanging here in person podcast for Pop's 29th birthday.
Yes, sir.
Celebrated that today. It was a great time, and we celebrated it with a Commanders win. And I just think this is a good time to remind everybody, guys, they all count the same.
Absolutely.
Every win counts the same. Now, we got a lot of problems with this win, and we'll talk about it. But ultimately, they all count the same. I think the better team won today. I think you had a classic situation of a backup quarterback coming in that they may or may not have been prepared for in the second half and kind of getting things going in garbage time. But it was a win, and that's what matters. Absolutely insane ending. Obviously, with them missing the 2-point conversion, Pop had it like he had it in his heart this morning. He said to me, I don't care if the Saints drive all the way down the field, score the game-tying touchdown, and miss the extra point, as long as we win this game. That's what Pop said. So Pop had it predicted, same way I texted him against Dallas with the McLaurin thing, and I said we're going to score a touchdown, go for two, and not get the 2-point conversion. Of course, we didn't go for two, but similar effect there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. Win's a win, and I'm happy. I'm happy to be 9-5. I'm happy to get that win. I agree with you. The better team won. You look at it statistically, which we can go through in a bit, but we clearly dominated the stat sheet. A couple of inches from Terry McLaurin completions away from sealing that game. I think questionable clock management and calls at the end of the game for us that made it easier for the Saints to get that game-tying touchdown. We could talk about that. It is a troubling – I want to be mostly positive here. It is a troubling development, the fact that the defense just can't get stops at end of games like that. They just cannot do it. And it's crazy how well they played for 3+ quarters. And Joe Witt Jr. even has said it in his presser during the week. But that fourth quarter – they're one of the best defenses in the league the first 3 quarters. And that fourth quarter defense just isn't very good. And I don't know how to explain that. Of course, the offense needs to put up more points. 20 isn't quite good enough. The Saints defense looked amazing. Like, I'm not sure where that came from because you don't see it statistically with them. But they really dominated our offensive line. I think we really missed Biadasz, who was out because of an illness today.
Yeah, Biadasz is definitely the most important part of that offensive line without question. And anybody who wonders how that offensive line has kind of turned it around, you were demonstrated that today. It's Tyler Biadasz. He's been the most important piece of that puzzle. And ultimately, man, I think the Saints have some good pass rushers on their defensive line. I mean, Cam Jordan's a stud. Chase Young's been playing really well this year. But overall, man, today for me was just the boys playing down to the competition, unfortunately. I didn't think today
especially
was...
in the second half.
Yeah, especially in the second half. I mean, they completely shut down. We go from at one point in the first half, I'm going, we're going to shut them out. And when you had Haener in, you thought that was definitely the case. And then they obviously make the quarterback change in the second half. I tell you what, I'm glad Rattler didn't start the game. Could have been looking at a very different football game. I think Rattler can play. I think that's part of it too. I think he
but statistically,
got it done.
Like 10 for 21, not overwhelming.
Made some big time throws though, created off schedule on third down and such. He did
definitely look
what
better.
He needed to do.
Yeah,
definitely looked better, more dangerous, has a more live arm than Haener. Haener just looked. I mean, that's not an NFL quarterback. I think Rattler has the potential to be one. But I don't know, I'm willing to bet not ever. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, we got there. We're up 14-0 at the half. 2 Jaden Daniels to Terry McLaurin touchdowns. Ultimately, we ended up leading 20-7, and we give up 12 unanswered points there at the end of the game, which
even
is just
17-0 at one point because we got that field goal on the first drive of the second half, which
I
didn't put in the outline. But
yes,
yeah.
And that was just to be up 17-0 at the beginning of the second half. You go, okay, this thing's all but over. right?
Should be.
Let's just cruise. And we're all chilling. Vibes are kind of more casual at the house at that point. Everybody's conversing, joking around. Well, yeah, I'd say they were, relative to where the vibes headed later on in the game, that was probably the most casual point, right?
The Tenalia brothers watched the game together with their nephew.
We definitely brought the heat today for sure. But man, it was all in all, it was a good time. We got the win. That's what matters. And rattle off some stats here. 326 total yards and 40 minutes and 50 seconds time of possession for the Commanders versus 245 yards for the Saints. And I guess they had whatever. I mean, there's 60 minutes of possession, so you can do the math. 19 minutes and 10 seconds.
I didn't write that
of possession. But all in all, I mean, frankly, that should result in a much better score. I think you saw some of the red zone weirdness come back today. I think you saw some of the defensive just crumbling in the fourth quarter. And you know what? Frankly, I don't care if we're the best defense in the league for the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter is when you get paid. Fourth quarter is when you win a football game. Fourth quarter is what matters. And if we're talking about going into Seattle and winning a playoff game, if we're talking about going into LA and winning a playoff game, going up to Philly or Detroit maybe after today and winning a playoff game, that ain't going to happen with a bad fourth quarter defense. There's no way.
Yeah, the way their defense was able to kind of dominate, their defensive line was able to dominate our offensive line. You just didn't see the same kind of dominant performance from our defensive front against their O-line. And quite frankly, Rattler was okay, but he's not a great quarterback, and they should have been able to do better. But yeah, having said that, I said it all week. I said it again, off the air. Saints won 3 of 4. We lost 3 of 4. There was nothing in my being that thought this was going to be easy today. And I think we got to get out of this idea that we need to blow every team out by 20 or 30 points, especially when we're the favorite. They were, like you said, the better team won. It wasn't great at the end for sure. I didn't love the decision making at 2 minutes. I don't get, if you're attacking and you're in attack mode and it's 3rd and 23, why are you running the ball in that situation?
Well, on a drive,
you got to get enough yards to give yourself a comfortable field goal there. I just don't understand it. And then at that point, you're taking a 50-50 shot at a 54-yard field goal, then giving them a short field. I don't think if they could only score to tie the game with the help of whatever idiot was running the clock, right?
Yeah, which we'll get into later.
They're not going to score having to go 90 yards. Punt the ball at that point. Punt it. It's just I don't know. I just felt that was just poor. You're on your 4th, 5th kicker since the regular season started, and you're going to trust them with a 54-yarder?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, and to cap it all off, on that drive, earlier in that drive, you go for it on 4th down in your own territory. Jaden Daniels somersaults over the line,
he's incredible.
Makes this crazy play, which is just like the most terrifying thing.
Jaden Daniels this far into the pod is nuts.
My gosh, yeah, it's wild. But it's probably the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. Daniels doing the front flip for a first down, gets it, and you go, okay, we can breathe a little bit. They're going to ice this game. And then on 3rd and 23, to call a draw play to Robinson to get into field goal position and go completely belly up to get into position to kick a 54-yard field goal on the right hash when the guy's been missing wide right all day for the field goal kicker, who is, like you said, we picked this guy off the street. He's your 4th kicker of the year. It's some serious, I loved having the balls to go for it on 4th. I said it in the moment. I said, go for it. Put the game away.
I liked it too.
I'm thinking in that moment too, if you don't get it, at least you get the ball back with some time on the clock, right? That's the right play in that moment, I think. But to go from that to on 3rd and 23, not giving Jaden a chance and then electing to kick the ball, I think if you look at that situation, if Jaden gets sacked, Tressway punts the ball, and if you looked at the last drive, they were running the ball on us, and they were able to run the ball on us and run that clock out and continue to gash us on the ground where we were in prevent defense because we cut the field in half for them.
Yeah.
We gave them a 46-yard field. If you put them on their own 5-yard line, which we know Tressway can do, he does it all the time. He's one of the best punters in the league. If you put them on their own 4 or 5-yard line in that situation, the run game is mute. They cannot run the ball, and they already demonstrated they did not throw to the left side of the field. I thought Marshawn Lattimore played his ass off today. They can't throw to half the field, and they can't run the ball. You like your odds in those last 2 minutes, but it, to me, was really disappointing to see them go for that. And
well, that's why I'm not as down on this game, because I think, one, they should have never had a shot at getting that touchdown because the clock should have run out. Awful. 2, we just handed them an opportunity at the end there. That's ridiculous. We just should have never put them in that position to begin with. So, but I got to cheer you up a little bit, son. How good is Jaden Daniels? How good is Jaden Daniels? I mean, if you want to, you can point to the 8 sacks and you can point to the misses for Terry that were just that close. But his accuracy everywhere else. I mean, you figure he was 25 or 31? Is that what the stats say?
Something like that.
He burned those 3 to Terry. So if you take away those 3 deep shots, he only missed on 2 throws the rest of the game. And yeah, the sacks weren't great. Usually when it's 8 sacks, about half go to the quarterback, half go to the O-line. That's usually how it works out. We'll see what people say about that. But when he did let it go, the accuracy of his throws, man, too much ice cream and cake tonight.
We had a rough night food-wise. We're waiting on the Ozepic to come in. This program's in rough shape, man.
But,
Jesus.
It's great. Great to his accuracy and the way he was throwing the ball and some of the plays he made running the ball, getting yards out of nothing. You mentioned the 4th and 1. How the hell he got that first down? It's just beyond me. Number 5 is the reason we have a chance.
With you.
Simple as that.
With you. Agree. What I didn't like about this game and why I thought we were going to lose this game was I think we put 5 in a position where he had to stand on his head for the majority of the game in order to win. We weren't running the football well. We were getting beaten up on the defensive line. Those 2 things are usually a recipe for Jaden Daniels needs to stand on his head in order for us to win the game, and he did. That's the bottom line. He wasn't out there covering. I want to give Noah Igbenogany a shout out on that coverage, on that 2-point conversion. That was phenomenal coverage. He had some great moments late in that game. I think he played really well overall. He wasn't out there covering for that. But short of that, Jaden Daniels did just about everything he needed to get a win today. Like you said, missed on a few of those deep shots. I was texting back and forth with my girlfriend talking about it, and she's saying he's got to hit those. I'm saying those are super low percentage throws. We've been spoiled by the fact. I think the one down the sideline to Terry was a bad miss. That was a bad miss.
Yeah.
The rest of them are low percentage throws, and we've been spoiled by how accurate he is with that.
Well,
and how good
and then
he is
the
down
one
the
deep
field.
ball to Terry that didn't get completed, that was pass interference.
Well, that was horrible pass interference.
I mean,
the guy was there a year
I don't want to
early.
get in a referee conversation, but there were some questionable calls. Some of, at least one of the roughing the passer calls was atrocious.
Yeah.
The one in the end zone.
Yeah.
The other one was
You could see if you go high,
borderline.
in 2024, if you go high on a guy, you're going to get a roughing the passer call. It's just how
High
it
on
works,
his shoulder pads?
unfortunately. It looked like he was around the neck in real time. I could see how they call it. I don't like it. I can see how they call it. And I think for roughing the passer, we should be able to. If we're going to call it so stringently, we should be able to take a look at that, in my opinion. If you think the guy gets hit in the head and you look at the replay and you say he doesn't, pick up the flag.
Well, I also don't understand on the clock situation at the end where they just stopped the clock suddenly at 9 seconds. The clock would have run out. It's a fact.
Tell you what,
how is that not reversible?
before we go too deep
How's that
on the
not
clock
reversible?
situation, let's finish out
Yep.
the rest of the game stuff. Obviously, really missed Tyler Biadasz today. We already talked about that. We talked about the decision to run. Only update we have, Zach Ertz and Jeremy Chin both sustained concussions. Both looked bad. Both walked off and are seemingly okay in a life perspective, in a football perspective. I don't know when we'll see either of them again. I guess we'll have to just wait and see. We'll have more info for you guys on that on the pregame pod.
Tough to turn around in
hopefully.
a week. Yeah.
But not fun to see either one of them. I do think Forrest played well in Chin's absence. It was good to see him on the field.
Solid.
I think he played well. I'd like to see more of him. But otherwise, I say we get right in our awards. At the end of our awards, you guys know we do the kick hots, and we will have plenty of time to talk about that clock situation.
Yeah.
Then. But let's get into our awards here. So, Sauce Award, at this point, it's the Jaden Daniels Award. We might have to have a dialogue next season about, not disqualifying Jaden for the sauce, but adding a second sauce if Jaden gets it. But it's his rookie year, man. You got to give the kid his flowers. 25 for 31 passing, 226 yards, 2 touchdowns, 118 and a half passer rating, and 11 carries for 66 yards on the ground. So if you're counting, that's like, I shouldn't have said that if you're counting because I can't count. That's like 292 total yards from Jaden Daniels today out of the 326 that the offense had. So do the math on that. I mean,
fantastic. Like you said, he hits just one of those long balls and he's flirting with 300.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And he looked incredible with his legs today, too. Jaden's scrambling ability today was really something else. He was really, really special as a scrambler today, and I thought that he did a great job of protecting himself. You didn't see him take any hits in the open field that you didn't like. He did a good job of knowing when to slide versus knowing when to do
Except when he dove for that first down.
Yes, but that's a situation where protecting yourself comes second and getting the first down comes first, right?
He's a pretty tough kid, all things considered.
Yeah.
I know people worry about his size, but he could take a hit. Not that I want him taking hits. And I agree with you. I think for the most part, he's pretty smart. I think I do think, if anything, we've talked about this before, I think he doesn't want to make that mistake. That leads to some of those sacks. I'd love to see him get the ball out of his hands a little quicker in some of those situations if you're going to nitpick. And it is nitpicking because the kid's incredible. I think it's, he can hold it a second too long. It's not like he holds it forever and gets sacks, but there's times where he hits that back foot and you'd want the ball come out. But we can't see what he's seeing. Maybe the coverage was great. Who knows?
Coverage was good today, and he's a little hesitant to really drive it when he has to, or to throw
he doesn't want to make a mistake.
Throw a 50-50 ball. He's very
turnovers.
He likes to protect the ball. He's very conservative. I think he only has like 6 picks on the year, and 2 of those.
Gotta love that.
One of those came in that Dallas game on a Hail Mary, so 5. Which is like for a rookie quarterback and for a guy that's been throwing as much. I mean, he had 30 attempts today. For a guy that's been throwing as much as he's been throwing is incredible. Not enough good things to say about Jaden Daniels. He's the reason you won the game today. Runner up for the Sauce Award and first honorary helmet sticker, Pop's favorite commander of all time, certainly got to be one of his favorite Washington football players ever. Terry McLaurin, 7 catches, 73 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half, 969 yards and 11 touchdowns for the year. So Terry will be one of like 6 receivers ever once he breaks that 1,000 mark to get 1,000 in his first 5 seasons every single year. So just sensational ball from Terry McLaurin.
I'm going to pull a Dominic here and just remind the people preseason who was standing on the table saying him being ranked 18th or whatever in the league was disrespectful, and he's a top 10 receiver. And I think this year he's proven he's a top 5 guy. Incredible.
I think he's more than 10 slots better than that number 8. I think ranking him 8 is disrespectful at this point. I think you look at the numbers and it's like, okay, who has the best drop rate? Oh, it's Jefferson, Chase, and then Terry. Okay, who has the most touchdowns? It's Chase and then Terry. Who has the most yards? It's Jefferson, Lamb, Chase, and then Terry. It's like he's in every single one of those major statistics. At a certain point, we got to recognize this guy. I don't care
and
that
Chase has T. Higgins.
Yeah.
So, like, he's got a great quarterback. He's got a great quarterback. Terry finally has a great quarterback.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a number 2 yet.
Well, and
he doesn't have a number 2.
Also, Burrow's throwing for 400 yards a game.
Exactly.
Every single game. So definitely a different thing. His efficiency, I mean, Terry is among all of those guys with 20, 30 less catches on the year than they have. And he's next to them in statistics all across the board. Doesn't have as many yards as Jefferson, of course, but he's right in there.
There aren't many things, I want to say in sports, but probably in life, and just in the sense that it's much lower ranked in life. But in sports, I would say there is nothing that I like better than a Jaden to Terry touchdown pass.
It's
love
beautiful
when that happens.
It's beautiful.
It's my favorite thing in sports.
You just know the amount of times I've seen the ball gets thrown and then you see the guy goes to the ground. You can't quite see what receiver it is yet on the broadcast. And then you see it's 1-7 and you don't even wait for the signal. You just go like that.
Yeah.
You know, because if he's going to the ground and the ball is going there, if it's Jaden to Terry, it hit the ball in his chest. And Terry is going to catch that ball. That's
Absolutely.
just how it goes. Now, the deep balls today, unfortunately, Terry did an incredible job of getting open. I think you're talking about 9 for 180 or something if he catches a couple of those, but and 4 tuds. But he's sensational today.
Having a career year.
Career year. I think it's only up from here for Terry, and I think it's going to get scary once we get him a little bit of help. Because
did you go over the season stats for him?
I did. Yeah.
I did. I don't know where I was at that moment.
Dorrance Armstrong, next up, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss. Guys, this episode might be brought to you by Pepsid. Within the next few minutes, boys are fighting for their lives over here with the stomachs. We got after it tonight. It's a tough scene. But Dorrance Armstrong, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hit. Solid day from him. Got his name called a couple of times. And I think the next up has got to be Marshawn Lattimore in his Commander's debut. 0 targets, 0 completions, 0 yards. That's all you can ask for from a quarterback.
No doubt.
I mean, they wouldn't throw to him. They were completely afraid of him. I don't know. They don't show the side of the field that the ball doesn't get thrown to on the broadcast. So I don't know if he was that locked down or if it was just, hey, we're not giving him the chance to have a revenge game and to do something against us. I don't know what it was. Either way, I think he is, as advertised through 1 game. Now, his impact on the defense still yet to be determined, and we're just getting beaten up so badly in the trenches at the end of games.
Saints receivers in general, I mean, Valdez Scandling only had 2 catches, 64 yards, so they were pretty good average
Meaningful
per catch.
catches, yeah.
But and then you got Alvin Kamara with 4. Moreau's tight end with 4, and then the next receiver has 2. So
Pettis.
Pettis, yep.
I didn't even know he was still in the NFL, so that's cool. Saints are in rough shape, and ultimately we scooted out of there. Probably shouldn't have, but that's where our kick-outs of the game comes up today.
Yes, we should have.
Shouldn't have had to scoot out of there.
We shouldn't have had to scoot out of there. I agree.
That's where our kick-outs of the game comes in today, and that's got to be the 8 sacks. 2 sacks for Chase Young. John Ridgway, I think maybe had 1 or they kept showing John Ridgway on the broadcast and he kept looking angry. And I kept just laughing to myself like, buddy, you got traded for a 6th-round pick. I forgot you were even on the Saints. I'm glad this means something. I'm glad this means something to you and good for you, but we're not worried about a John Ridgway revenge game on this side of the field.
Chase played well.
Chase played all right. Whatever.
Ridgway had 1.
Ridgway did have a tackle
no
for loss. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Sacks.
That's a John Ridgway stat line for you. I think overall,
Cam Jordan had 2.
Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see Ridgway in an alleyway or anything like that. But I wasn't so.
I like
happy
how you
about
support
that.
your boys, but he didn't ask to be traded.
No. But anyways, I guess that's a weird hill for me to die on there. But it pissed me off during the game, those couple of camera shots. But all in all, I mean, the Saints had 8 sacks today. I do think Daniels held the ball a little bit too long. I think Daniels was too. I think there was a stat going into the game about how much the Saints give up against mobile quarterbacks, and I think some of that gets into Daniels' brain sometimes, or maybe it's a part of the game plan.
The offensive line was getting blown up.
Who started at right tackle today? Did you notice? I didn't notice. Was it Wiley or Lucas out there?
It was Wiley.
Wiley was back.
It was Wiley.
Might have something to do with it as well as Lucas played last week.
Well, you could definitely see. I mean, it looked to me. I'm we don't do the all 22, and I'm not going to give you a very accurate offensive line breakdown, but it looked like up the middle was a problem.
Yeah,
which starts with the center, and they got it. I mean, the Saints got some talent on that D line.
Yeah,
if you think of it, if Chase is playing, they've got some talent on that D line. I mean, Ridgway's a good player,
and
God
bless him, the Paisan. Nick Allegretti, I think, has come back down to earth in the second half of the season a little bit. I do think left guard is a position of need for us going forward. I think he's held it down well, but I certainly don't think he's been... You've heard his name called a few too many times in terms of penalties, and past that, I just don't think he's been all that great at that left guard position, and I think teams are keying on that. I think earlier in the year, they were trying to beat us up on the tackles, and I think recently, because Biadasz has been beat up and Allegretti's been meds on meds, I'll know what we mean by that. You guys may not. They've been kind of focusing on blitzing up the middle more, and I think that's where we're starting to get beat up.
Yeah, weird game if you stop and think about it. You know, you rarely give up 8 sacks and win a game. You rarely give up 8 sacks and dominate a game statistically, you know, in terms of yardage, time of possession, all those kind of things. I think it shows that, you know, look, like I said, usually when there's 8 sacks, you could probably put half and half on the offensive line, half that the quarterback got rid of. But our offensive line was getting blown up. We couldn't run the ball. The inability to run the ball, you know, you'd say you'd take the Titans defense over the Saints defense all day long if you were looking at it just from a season perspective. And our inability to run the ball today, in addition to all the sacks, was just crazy.
Yeah, Biadasz is so important to that. And it looked like, to me, the snap comes out slower with Dieter
Possibly.
as well. And, you know, I don't think Dieter was awful. I just think when you've got a guy like Biadasz who's been playing at an all-pro level, he elevates the rest of the guys on that offensive line so much, and he operates like the quarterback of that offensive line. He's shifting protections. He's moving things around.
All that stuff's big.
That kind of stuff is the stuff that people like you and I, more casual football fans on the content side, maybe aren't so bright about. But hey, Jay Gruden, we'd love to have you come on the pod if you want to help us break down Tyler Badass. I know he's your favorite player, and we could get into it with you. But yeah, people like you and I, maybe not the best when it comes to breaking down that offensive line tape, but I think it's pretty, I think it's one of those situations where you go, well, their best offensive lineman was out and the offensive line looked bad today. So,
yep.
Anyways, kick out to the game. Saints, clock operator. What the hell was going on? I mean, it got to 9 and you went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 7.
I mean, honestly,
6. It was heinous.
You know, we had this conversation on a different topic earlier today. I'm not much of a conspiracy guy, but that sure as hell looked like some home cooking there.
Yeah.
Whoever was on that clock had to have been a Saints fan.
I mean, that was just...
How do you stop it? What would have caused you to stop it?
There's no reason to stop it there. In what world is there a reason to stop it?
See that, guys?
There's just nothing like, there's no like, it just doesn't make any sense. No. It's illogical.
No. And the fact that you can't, they make clock adjustments all the time through reviews. So why the hell can't that be reviewed?
Well, and there's a situation earlier on that drive where they catch the ball, and it's clear as day. I watched it in real time. I said he caught it. His knee hit the ground. He was down by contact inbounds, and they said incomplete. And then they said, no, he went out of bounds. And then they went, oh, no, his knee actually touched down in bounds, run 10 seconds off the clock. But at that point, you've allowed the Saints to substitute, get to the line of scrimmage with no rush, and then snap the ball, which just completely changes the dynamic of the game. But this situation here, this is egregious because in the NFL, this stuff happens at the end of games every week. And thank God.
I've never seen a clock stop.
It would have ruined your birthday party. I like to think we're better than that, but it would have ruined your birthday party. Thank God.
It would have ruined my day.
I like to think we're not that, but we're just those kind of people. That's just how it works. Thank God it didn't end up changing the outcome in terms of wins and losses, but my goodness, I mean, that happens at the end of the game, and then the NFL just goes, oh, shucks.
Yeah.
We have that up. Sorry, guys.
The refs admitted the mistake,
What is that good for?
0.
What is that good for? Well, I mean, you got people who bet millions of dollars on the game. You got players playing millions of dollars. Coaches, families get uprooted over this kind of stuff. I mean, what are we doing?
That's right. We would have covered.
What are we doing? Yeah, we would have covered. There you go. There's the conspiracy for you.
Anyway, I mean, it all worked out in the end in terms of the win column. The better team won, like you said. Eagles are next. We could play a little loose on that one. We're going to be big underdogs. We got a lot of injuries.
Yeah, have to play loose.
Guys
right?
banged up, but we can go into that one with maybe low expectations, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to just. I hope we can go into that one and we can do the.
I think we're going to play them tough.
Division games are weird. Let's play them tough and get a win. That Eagles team looks like the best team in the NFL right now to me.
Yeah.
And it's not really the team; it's the defense and Saquon Barkley. But we didn't have an answer for that the first time. We'll see where it goes the second time.
We had an answer for 3.5 quarters. We got Lattimore. Defense played pretty well. I think they're saying there's no chance would be inaccurate.
And hey, we got the whole pregame pod to break that down for you
right.
guys. That is about it for us
fun.
today. It was a great time. First of what will be a few in-person podcasts. I say we wrap this thing up. What do you say, Pop?
Let's wrap it.
All right, let's wrap this thing up. Without further ado, I've been Dom.
This is Pop.
And thank you for another great week, everybody, and hail to the Commanders.
Hail.